Um, Thanks, Chair, for the opportunity to actually present here, and greetings to the honorable members and greetings to also our visitors, the IEC delegation. I would be happy if this presentation was actually introduced first year, because I also remember I did attend one day of this session. So then I was thinking, who commissioned this? Is it IEC or it is somebody outside the country proposing that we do these things, more so that it is now coming to us as the portfolio committee and is presented? Reason being, you have done a desktop research on the reforms of the electoral system. I would have loved you to also bring us a historical reflection of the 30 years of voting, which we've had since 94. You juxtapose that with the quality of lives of the people being changed by the electoral process, because I would like to see if the elections as an activity, is it linked directly to governance? If there is no link between the two, so that we would be quick to say we don't need this thing because it's not linked to the outcomes of governance and probably good governance. I'm asking this question. We had exactly a technical glitch last year in the elections, a huge one, where we were blank with the screens for a very long time. And IEC has not taken us into their confidence on exactly what happened. Now, doing a research. And I'm asking this question directly because now you're talking e-voting. Could it be that we had a technical glitch that was exposing our poor technology, so that we then know that as you introduce this subject, have you taken stock of what has just happened last year? Because we even have a legal case that is sitting in court, having not resolved an issue of a technical glitch that had far-reaching consequences on our elections last year. And I'm also checking, did you do a research that will come from the bottom up? Meaning, coming from the people who are voting, are they the ones that are recommending the country's economy, referencing these reforms from? Those are established countries. Those countries, their economies are well structured. There is infrastructure. But you're coming to compare South Africa, 2% are black, and those are outside the economy. So which means when you talk about election reforms and you then juxtapose it with established countries, the outcome of that is going to be something else, because we are still struggling with infrastructure. My question is, what are you proving, or what are you solving, and whose problem are you solving? Because we are sitting at different domains where the poor are not going to tell you that I'm interested to anything about voting, but they may be interested to vote. But when you reform voting to a level of technology, that technology, it is your baby. You will have to furnish that technology to all of us. And if we don't have these technologies, then you have a problem whereby you don't make it our problem. Voting, as far as I'm concerned, is a domestic matter. So if it is a domestic matter first, then we should be looking inwardly first. What are the issues that are affecting our people, more than what are the interests of other international communities on what we are doing? Because our situation is not changing because of challenges that arise in the economy of our own country. I'm asking another question. Have you considered a system whereby you put up drums or portals where those people who want to vote for that particular party, they just go to a drum of MK and load their votes there, and their vote be counted separately. You don't take votes of MK, mix it with ANC, NDA, and then the outcome, you tell us that one of us has won more than us. Yet you pulled our votes, and now we cannot trace whether there is any foul play in that process. Another reform that I'm thinking you should be considering, why don't you have a screen as I vote, wherever that I'm voting, the numbers are tallying same time, so that you don't have to sit down and say now you are counting, and then you even have additions of things that were not part of the voting process, or because we cannot prove that when you say we are pulling everything together. So we need to say, no, as I vote, it is already registered. The numbers the last time I voted were at this. Another question, why do you allow us to vote in public where everybody is seeing that I'm voting? But when you are counting, you go behind a curtain and you call certain few guys to say they're the one who are observing election, they're observing the counting, even if, yes, we are represented, but why, as the process goes to the outcome of voting, it becomes more secrecy than it was public when we were actually going to the voting? Looking into the cybersecurity issues, us being so backward in terms of ICT as a country, can you imagine our system being hacked as we vote by somebody sitting somewhere in the world and interfering with a serious process wherein we want to elect our leadership? Then we have another case of a cyber hacking that we now have to deal with. What happens to the election process? Another question. As you introduce these reforms, you are interfering with the legalities or legislative processes wherein we must legislate that now we are using an e-voting system and we're migrating from the manual voting system. So which means we must sit down and make laws and approve those laws, go to all quality checks legally, judicially, to say they are in check. All that hassle that we must go through just because there are reforms that must be introduced. In fact, I'm interested to know who has more interest in this reform. Is it the 62 million people of South Africa? Another question that I have, I saw a judgment that allows those who left South Africa 494 that now they can be allowed to have dual citizenship. While I'm staying in London, I can be a citizen of South Africa. So we'll have people who are staying in other countries but voting here. Whatever the reasons you can justify them, that already is an interference. And we are seeing that as a threat whereby people or countries that have an issue with us can stage elections and stage people who can say, I am also one of those who left South Africa. By the way, those people left on their own accord thinking that South Africa will not make it after a black man is elected as a president. It turns out 30 years later that a country is running, then they are coming back. They say, now we have an interest in this country. What interest do they have? Because the situation of the country is still appalling in terms of the condition, unless there are other interests that they have other than just being citizens. But how are you going to deal with this dual citizenship now? Another question that I have, I see the Minister of Home Affairs is now digitizing IDs and is allowing those who are naturalized in South Africa to now form part of people who will have IDs, and then, which means those people will be forming part of our elections process. And that is now already introducing an upswing in terms of numbers and population, which is not necessarily organically a population that was generated by people who were organically South African. So you now have supplementary citizens, which all of that is coming to interfere in the conditions of our people. And that is also an issue that we need to pay attention to. I don't see you focusing more on countries in the African continent where we share even similar economic conditions. You are comparing an ideal that doesn't exist here, which also we cannot trace it, that once we have this e-voting process, we shall have better conditions, because there's still a question whether after voting, are our conditions becoming better? If not, which means voting is another process, governance is another process. These two don't marry, yet we are so bogged down in improving e-voting processes in our country, as if it's going to lead to a better life. Better life has not. My last submission is this one. From 94 till 2025, the conditions of Black people have deteriorated, but the conditions of white people have improved. More money has been made by white people who are a minority, and the majority have not made money, which means they are outside economic circulation, this 92%. This is telling you scientifically that for 30 years, the conditions of those whom democracy was intended for in terms of majority have not benefited in 30 years. Here we are coming with reforms that have no direct benefit to the majority's life being improved. So please take us through your confidence. What exactly are you trying to solve, and what is broken, once we're still struggling to fix the administrative process of the elections in South Africa in 30 years, where you still have issues of voting process having not started on time, where you still have issues of electricity, where you still have issues of telecommunications, where you still have issues of poverty, where you still have issues of voter non-response, where people are actually boycotting elections, and now you're introducing e-voting. Are you not trying to supplement that those people who didn't come to vote, at least electronically, can boost them up? Also, you know, the corruption that happens through
I think we should round up,
electronic.
Honorable Peter.
Okay.
Let's round up.
You know, the corruption that is introduced by electronics. People can send you a bank statement and interfere with that bank statement under pretense that there is money there, only to find later there is no money. This process is also exposed in the similar manner as we have problems with the banking system. So my questions to you are, I'm not part of this, and I don't support it based on merit and academic references and research, because your research is from elsewhere, it's not from the conditions where I'm living. Thank you.